Hello, it's Jeanette with Amazing Paper Crafts. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm back with another video tutorial, and this is what I'll be making for you today. This is a little single Hershey Nugget gift box. Yes, there's just one Hershey Nugget in here, but let me open this up so you can see what it looks like inside. There it is. Isn't that cute? And look, to get the Hershey Nugget out, because it is kind of a snug fit, I created this little release here, and so you can get the wrapped Hershey Nugget. And look at that designer series paper. Isn't that gorgeous? Let me show you the designer series paper that is out now in our 2019 holiday catalog. Okay, we've got a lot of beautiful paper here. These are our 6x6 designer series paper, specialty, because they have a silver foil on the sheets here, and so many different designs. You got snowflakes and sprigs and leaves and things. I mean, they are just beautiful. But wait, when you turn the other side, look at this. Look at how colorful and beautiful. Oh my goodness, all these beautiful winter scenes. Now you get 48 of these 6x6 in a package. All of these pages are two-sided. I can't remember how many different designs there are, but I mean, they're just absolutely gorgeous. And when I saw this paper, I thought, oh my goodness, my wheels are turning. What do I create? So I may be using that paper in the future, but today I'm going to be making this little box. It's not as hard as it looks, okay? And you don't use as much paper as you think. So let's just get started, okay? I'm just going to set these over here. And these are the pieces that you're going to need. These are the main pieces. You're going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 2 inches by 7 3/8. 7 3/8 by 2. Okay, and then the next piece you're going to need is 2 3/8 of an inch by 7 inches. Okay, and then this piece is going to be for your cover. That's this piece right here that wraps all the way around the box, and that piece will measure 2 1/8 by 5 3/4. Okay, and you're also going to need a little piece of cardstock for your release, and this measures 2 3/4 by 1 inch, and we'll be rounding the corners on that. See, that little tab has a little bit of rounding on the corners. But let's get started on just constructing the box. Okay, we're going to start by bringing out our Simply Scored scoring tool. Okay, and I'm going to make sure it's situated here. I'm going to start with the smaller one, and you're going to need to make score lines equal on both sides. So I'm just going to be turning the cardstock around. But the score lines that you need to make are at the 1/2 inch. Kind of hard for me to get my finger in there. Okay, 1/2 inch, and then the 1 1/4 inch. Okay, and then you're going to need to make another score line at the 1 3/4 of an inch, and then at the 2 1/2 inch. Okay, turn it around and repeat. 1/2 inch, 1 1/4 inch, 1 3/4 of an inch, and 2 1/2. And we'll put this one aside, and we're going to get the larger, the wider piece, still on the long side though. You're going to repeat 1/2 inch, and then you got 1 1/4 inch, you've got 1 3/4 of an inch, and then 2 1/2 inch. Okay, turn it around. You've got 1/2 inch, 1 1/4 inch, 1 3/4 of an inch, and 2 1/2 inches. And now I'm going to turn this on the short side, and I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch just down to that second score line here. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to score at the 1 7/8 of an inch down to this score line, down to that second score line too. Okay, flip it around and do the exact same thing. 1/2 inch just to that second score line, and 1 7/8 to that second score line. Okay, and we're going to bring this scoreboard out again for our other pieces, but for right now let's just work on our box. So here we've got all of these pieces here. The first thing I'm going to do is take out my paper snips, and I am going to cut some of this paper. I need to remove that little square and that little rectangle on all 4 sides of this paper, but when I do, I am going to be angling up, and I want to make sure that I cut off this score line completely. So I angle up like that and cut off the score line completely. Okay, so it's going to look like that on both sides. Okay, and this is what you'll have. And now you can fold and burnish all of your score lines. And let's do that with our bone folder. Okay, so now we have our 2 pieces that we need to put together, and we're going to put these together like this. We're going to take that narrower piece and put it over the top, and what we're going to adhere this together with is some liquid multi-purpose glue. And I'm going to just go ahead and put glue on this bottom part. Just spread it along here. And just try to make it even on this spot here. I should bring up my silicone craft sheet here so I don't get glue all over my surface. And you just want to make sure that there's equal space between here and here. And you'll be probably adhering this right over that score line on these 2 score lines right here. But that's okay. They'll still fold up, okay? And that's what you need it to do. You're going to need it to fold up. All right. Just making sure that it's nice and even here. So while it's drying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tear and tape just on this flap and on this flap here. So let's do that. I'm just going to fold that over, get my tear and tape out. Got to get my little cutting block out, or tearing block. Actually, I use it to help me tear the tape. Okay, there we go, and we tear it nice and straight. Let's get this side here, and we are going to place our tear and tape right on the edge of that fold. Okay, make sure you get it right on the edge of the fold, and then just tear that off. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my take your pick tool, and I'm going to remove that backer paper from the tear and tape. Got to just get kind of right under it. There it is, right there. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Just get underneath it and peel it off. Okay. And now I'm going to fold this like this, so that you see 2 sections here on both sides. And I'm going to just kind of take this and stand it up, and then make sure that it's folded nice and neatly. And we are going to pull that down, and then now when you stand it up, you see you get this little hollow box side right there. Okay, we'll do the same on the other. We're going to fold that in half. We're going to stand this up, and then we're going to fold it down and then stand it up. And now we've got 2 of the sides put together. Now these opposite sides are going to be a little bit different. you still need to adhere, but I'm not going to be using tear and tape. I'm going to be using some multi-purpose liquid glue because you're going to need to be moving this around to situate it. So I'm putting it on this flap here and on this flap here. You see how I have those flaps folded like that? But then I'm going to also be putting a little bit of the multi-purpose glue just on these little angled cuts, the corners here, because that's what's going to adhere on the top. But I'm just putting just a little drop on all four corners. See that? Okay, let's put this away before I get all icky and gluey. Okay, all right, let's start with one side here. You're going to stand this up, and you got to make sure that this goes in and all the way to the edge, and then you're going to glue it down. And make sure you've got your corners perfectly straight. And I'm going to just let my take your pick tool help me out a little bit. Any excess glue, just wipe it off. Okay, and just make sure you have your corners mitered nicely. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is the other side. Very carefully stand this up, bring this in, scoot it all the way to the edge on the bottom. There we go, and fold it in. You just got to show it who's boss. Okay, and make sure your miters on the corners are even. And now you've got your box made. Isn't that cute? Okay, that was not difficult at all. Well, if you're a paper crafter, you know sometimes you have to manipulate the paper. You gotta, like I say, you gotta show it who's boss. Okay, and this really does need to sit and dry for a little bit. So let's work on the inside of this this little release that I'm making, and that is going to be this piece here that measures 2 3/4 by 1 inch. Okay, and so before I do anything, I'm going to just go on one side and round the corner. On this side, oop, I didn't get that very good. On that side and on this side. All right, and so now I'm going to bring out my Simply Scored scoring tool again, because I do need to make some score lines on here. And they are going to be at the 5/8 of an inch, okay? And then we're going to make it at 1 5/8 of an inch. And then, let's see, and then at the 2 3/8 of an inch. So we're just going to have a small little tab coming out. And while I'm here and I have this scoreboard out, I'm just going to go ahead and score the score lines that I need for the cover. Now this cover is 2 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/4. And if I didn't mention it before, I hope to have it on the screen. I'm using cardstock, smoky slate cardstock. Okay, so on this long side for the cover, you're gonna score this at 2 1/2 inches, and also at 3 1/4. Okay, and that's all you need for the cover. And let's put this scoreboard away. Now let's make this little release here. What I need to do is I'm folding it like this. Okay, it's gonna go in that opening just like this. So I'm going to put just a little strip of tear and tape right here on this edge, on that inside edge. Okay, tear and tape right here. Turn that off there. Oh. And let's remove that paper, the backer paper. All right, and now this is how it's going to go. And you want to make sure that it is in the middle. So before you actually glue it down, just make sure that it's right in the middle. Okay, and there you go. And now let's wrap our Hershey Nugget real quick. This is one of these dark chocolate Hershey Nuggets with almonds, one of my favorite. And this piece of designer series paper measures 3 inches by 1 inch. And I'm sure you've seen me do this before if you've watched my videos when I do my Hershey Nugget projects. You just put a piece of tear and tape right on the edge of one side, and then take the backer paper off. Okay, and then what I like to do is start, there's like this little flap right here that I like to put my paper there, not the sticky side, the other side, and then just wrap it and match up the edges on this side. And so now that we have our little release paper in there, see how that fits? And when they want to get the Hershey Nugget out, all they have to do is pull that little release paper, because it's kind of a snug fit, but that is how it's going to work. So let's put the cover on it now. We want to definitely burnish our score lines for this cover. Okay, that cover measured 2 1/8 by 5 3/4, and we scored it at the 2 1/2 and the 3 1/4 inch. And so what I need to do is just put multi-purpose glue, liquid multi-purpose glue, on this corner, on this side here, and also on the bottom. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, my glue's running out. Oh, getting it all over here. This is why we use our our silicone craft sheet, so that we don't get glue all over the place. Here we go. Make sure I'm on camera here. All right. And I'm putting a pretty hefty amount of glue on here. You don't have to use this much, but I want to make sure that it stays together. Okay, and now this is just going to be slightly larger than this section here is slightly larger than the box, only slightly. So you're going to have just a little bit of the cardstock on all sides, but you just want to make sure that it's even on all sides, and that's the way it's going to close. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 18 or so inches of this beautiful metallic edge, silver metallic edge ribbon. It is 3/8 inches wide, and I'm going to just go ahead and make a bow right here. I'm doing this before I put the designer series paper on, because that's what's going to lock this bow in place. So let's just go ahead and make our ribbon, our bow, like this. Okay. And now, you know me and bows, I am bow challenged, but we're going to do our best here. And we're going to try to make it look pretty. Well, at least I'll try to make it look pretty for the photo shoot. Okay. And it doesn't have to be this hard. I just want to make sure that the bows are nice and even here. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut on an angle, little excess there. Now let's put our designer series paper on here. I have 2 pieces, one for the top and one for the bottom, and I'm just going to use some snail adhesive to apply them, but this is how it's going to go. So let's grab my snail adhesive, turn this over, and I'm just going to put it on 2 sides. I think I'm going to start on this edge here, and we'll walk it back. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now let's do the bottom. Apply some snail adhesive here. Okay. And we're locking that ribbon in. like this. And, oops, got a little excess glue on there. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's work on a little tag for that. And for that, I have, trying to straighten my bow out here. For that, I have a stamp from the Parcels and Petals stamp set, and I'm going to put a little something right here. One thing that I forgot to do before I tied this is I wanted to stamp on the inside flap, and let me do that right now because I'm just going to be using some smoky slate, and all it's going to say is to and from, so that you could write in here when you give this gift away. So just right about there, to and from, and I'm using smoky slate, so it's like a tone on tone. Look, and now we'll tie this back up. Sorry folks, you're gonna have to watch me struggle through tying it back up again. Okay, all right, now we're gonna work on our little label for the top. I'm gonna be using the a little something, and I'd like to heat emboss it with some silver embossing powder. So let me get out my silicone craft sheet, my embossing buddy, and I'm going to just rub this with a little bit of the embossing buddy powder. I'm going to get out my Versamark, and we are just going to stamp this right in the middle. We're going to be die cutting this too, so let's put this away. I'm going to bring out my little scrap piece of paper here and my silver embossing powder. And I am just going to actually, what I like to do while it's in here is I like to just kind of pick it up and roll it back like that. And kind of flick it. Make sure that there's no powder around there. Okay, and some will definitely get on my surface, so I'm pouring that little bit back in, and put this away. Now I'm going to get out my heat gun, so if you don't want to hear the noise, just lower the volume, and I'm going to get it nice and warm. I like to heat the back of the paper too, because anytime you put heat, what happens is if there's any humidity in the paper, it's going to curl. And we know that there's humidity everywhere, especially here in Northwest Indiana. So I am just going to quickly heat emboss this, make sure everything is all shiny. And look, that's how quick it takes. It doesn't take long at all to heat emboss. And what a beautiful effect that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so now I'm going to take one of these labels from the Perfect Parcel Dies. I'm going to take this label, the one with the stitching on it. Isn't that pretty? And I'm just going to make sure that it's right in the center and take this to my die cutting machine. Let me put a little piece of removable tape just to hold it. Got to find a piece right here. Okay, and I'll be right back. Okay, and here is our label. Throw that excess away. And we're going to just go ahead and adhere this with some Stampin' Dimensionals. I'll put 2 on the back of here. Let's get that back of paper off. All right, and now let's put this right in the center here. Okay, isn't that pretty? And now let's just put a couple more decorations on here. What I'd like to do is put some of these frosted or clear epoxy droplets. Now on this one here, I've got the clear one, and on this one here, I put the frosty one here. I don't know if you can tell. One is clear and one is frosty. I think I kind of like them both, but I think I'm going to use the clear one again for this one here. So we're going to take your pick tool. I'm going to grab one of the larger little dots here, and I'm going to put it right here on the top part, and then I'll put one on the label right about here, and then I'll stick another one down here, just to have like 3. Isn't that cute? Okay, so now I am done. I'm done with my little box. Of course, I'm going to have to tie that here, but aren't they cute? Just to give out one little Hershey Nugget, but look how pretty that is. Somebody's going to really appreciate a little piece of chocolate. So I hope that I've taught you something. I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and all the supplies that I use are going to be listed in the description, and you can buy all of this stuff now because the holiday catalog has gone live September 4th. So go to my website at www.geoamazingpapercrafts to place an order. And once again, I am Jeanette with Geoamazing Papercrafts, and you make it a great day. Bye-bye.